Can you see
Yeah,
my screen?
yes, it's visible. Please go ahead.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Hope you're having a good session today at M365 Saturday Bangalore. Mm, so let's get started. And I'm just trying to get my slides moving. Hold on. Yep. All right. So let me start giving a big thanks for all the sponsors for this particular event and also the organizers. A really big thank from my end because this is my first session. I've been pretty much waiting to have this session and present it before the entire team. And I would like to start by saying a good thanks for all the sponsors and the organizers. And I think you would have pretty much seen this particular slide where there are a lot of exciting prizes that are waiting for all of you. So stay until end and participate in the quiz, get some amazing gifts from the team. Before moving on to the session, a quick intro about myself. My name is Ajo Suresh, and I'm working as a senior architect at Cognizant, and I've got like 14 years of experience in the IT industry. Currently, I'm based out of Australia, Sydney, so it's pretty late night here, and I think it's almost 9:30 p.m. here. But I'm pretty much excited to be part of this event. Continue forward with today's session that's on Power Virtual Agents. So today, like I mentioned, I'm going to present about the topic called Power Virtual Agents, and which is again one of the most discussed topic in the Power Platform world. So today I'll be presenting on Power Virtual Agent. And before we get started with Power Virtual Agents, I definitely understand that we all are in day-to-day life pretty much have used what you call as a chatbot, right? Whenever you visit a any commercial websites or any other website, there is something that always pop up in your side asking few suggestions, questions, taking you through the journey about how you want to get a solution, how you want to get a product, things like that. So obviously, what it actually means is there is something that is there to assist you with your journey through, giving proactive suggestions and stuff. So let's get started by discussing what exactly is a chatbot. So what exactly is a chatbot? And let's ask the question to chatbot itself, right? And this is pretty much a description that I've taken from Wiki. And from a Wikipedia perspective, this is what a chatbot exactly is. So chatbots or chatterbot is a software application used to conduct an online chat conversation via text or text to speech. So please keep off note of those words, right? Like text to speech in lieu of providing direct contact with a live human agent, right? So basically there is a software sitting in between you and the, for the conversation to happen, and that software is in lieu with a human agent. So typically you feel that you're actually speaking to a human agent, but there is something that is being driven to talk to you as a human agent, to answer your questions, help you with suggestions and things like that. So we all know the power of artificial intelligence, right? The AI or the artificial intelligence have completely revolutionized this world. And one of the key area where this artificial intelligence is being leveraged is something called conversational AI or conversational artificial intelligence. So traditionally, if you look at, if you want to get a customer support or anything, you call them, you have to be in queue, you have to wait and come wait for your turn to come, right? And this is pretty much obvious that, you get loss of patience, you might need to stay there for a long time. So how you're going to overcome all these things? How a customer can get a good experience? And that's where, the power of conversational artificial intelligence comes into picture. So rather than having, you know, a typical old graphical interface or things like that, you are being provided with someone who's actually talking to you on real time, providing you suggestions, things like that. So we all know the typical, the word which comes as like customer is a king, right? So at any point in time, we are also customer, but the service provider for us will always say that the customer is a king for us. So what obviously the primary target is to give the customer the best. And you know the chatbots are one way of giving the power to the customer, to make them happy, make them satisfied. But one key thing over here is, when we are trying to build chatbots in the current world, right? There are always that complexity. When I say complexity, there is a technical complexity, there are skill complexity, right? You need to have the right people to build it for you. You need to have the right resources to build for you. You need to have the entire platform set up to build for that. You know, so these complexities are always there. And how can we overcome that complexity? And that's where the power of Power Virtual Agent comes into picture. And that's where Microsoft actually came with the Power Virtual Agent Honey. So whenever we talk about Power Virtual Agent, it's another pillar in the Microsoft Power Platform world. So when we talk about Microsoft Power Platform, we always move towards the thought or the concept around the low code or no code solutions, right? So essentially, we are building chatbot applications, leveraging Power Virtual Agents, and through no code or low code solutions, and where you're actually overcoming the challenges that I just mentioned, like in terms of you need to have that the skills that such as like a as a uh, you have to be a data scientist, or you have to be a developer kind of role. So rather than doing that, as everyone also know, like Power Platform is actually for citizen developers. So you as a citizen developer, you need not be a professional developer, right? You can be just a business analyst or a business user. You go and start building chatbot applications. And one of the key thing over here, right, as a business, as a person, who are actually interacting with the real people, what their requirements are, rather than someone taking the requirements, giving it to developers. So you as a person who actually interact with customers, you as a person who actually interact with different services, you know what they want. You can build it based on those feedbacks that you get, those experience that you get. And that's the power, that's the advantage of using Power Virtual Agents. So, like I mentioned, this is another pillar in the Microsoft Power Platform world, where you are actually empowering your teams to come and build chatbot applications, and that too purely through user interface, purely through the graphical interface, rather than building the code. Obviously, I won't say that you won't be doing the coding part, but definitely from a initial building part, right? You can actually build a powerful chatbot application pretty much from the UI that you're going to give. And that is not just you are building. Microsoft assists you while you are building. They give suggestions. They give the way that you want to build. They give a lot of ideas how you want to build stuff. So that's the main thing about the Power Virtual Agent platform that's been built from Microsoft Power Platform. So at a nutshell, what Power Agents are basically going to address in this whole scenario is like I mentioned, it actually take away the gap between the particular subject matter expert and the developer. So as an SME, you can directly go get the idea, build the stuff, right? And also, you know, as I mentioned, the complex code that were required to build a chatbot application previously, no, you can actually build everything on the UI. The graphic user interface that's been provided for you, you can just drag, drop, add things, make it, pretty much inducive for us to, have a a chatbot application. And also the one main other key thing is like the way that you want to deploy these things, right? You can pretty much do it yourself with the right permission, but you need not rely on the IT or anyone for these kind of activities. So that's in a nutshell, like Power Virtual Agent is something that is being built on Power Platform of Microsoft suite of products, and which actually leverages the Microsoft's cognitive services to build chatbot applications for us. Uh, Moving on to the next slide, I just want to give a high level overview about Power Virtual Agents, the world. Like it's a self-confined world. So what you see on the right from the left side when I talk, you can see a developer or a, you know, what we call as a citizen developer sitting out there. They got a tool and things provided within this area. I'll come to the detailed part of what these tools are. And with those tools, with those environment that you're having, you're actually building a chatbot that you see in between. And then you are actually being given the option to publish your what you call as a publish, or ask your chatbot to be displayed on different channels. So if you see the channels, you can see pretty much you can put it on a web page, you can put it on a Facebook Messenger. Teams obviously part of the Microsoft suite, right? A part of my Power Platform. Um, sorry, the Office 365 space or M365 space. So you can put it onto Teams. So this is actually a self-confined world where you have got entire suite of things to build, test it out, and then publish to whatever channels or things like that. Again, you can actually make these chatbots to interact with other chatbots which are built in different technologies. So, but this self-confined will give you the entire suite of things that actually help you to build, test, and publish it to wherever you want. All right. So just to summarize, Power Virtual Agents are basically a suite of products that is product part of Microsoft Power Platform given to build powerful chatbot applications. And with this, we are completely coming across out of a lot of barriers that we are having. First thing is anyone can create a chatbot, right? Second one is anyone can update a chatbot. And third one is the power of integration. So even though you are building the chatbots on Power Virtual Agent world, you can integrate this with a lot of backend systems. You can actually integrate obviously with Office 365 because it's still within the Office 365 suite. You can build to, again, Dynamics 365, then what, you name it, and Salesforce, many more. Also, it can actually, access other technologies as well. And one other thing, like to mention that was at a high level, I mentioned, you need not rely on that IT admins for anything, but obviously there are scenarios that you might have to rely on IT admins. You might have to rely on the pro developers, to customize and extend the chatbot applications. But what I meant to say is, it actually overcome a lot of challenges that were part of initial chatbot development lifecycle with the help of Power Virtual Agents. So that's pretty much about from a slide perspective or from presentation perspective that I want to just go through about Power Virtual Agents. What are the capabilities? What are the things that pretty much Power Virtual Agents are being targeted for? Moving on to the next slide. Rather than talking too much now, let's start building something. Let's start building a Power Virtual Agent. So let's get started. How to come out to Power Virtual Agent? Let me go to Power Virtual Agent official website. All right, there is a couple of options that you can actually go and create a Power Virtual Agent. So
can't we open Power Virtual Agent through Office 365 site directly as we usually open Power Apps and Power Automate?
yeah, so what I'm coming to is like in a Power Virtual Agent world, you got two Power Virtual Agents, right? One is a standalone Power Virtual Agent, and then it comes as part of your M365 subscription. Okay, so what I'm going to actually show is how you can actually build as a standalone Power Virtual Agent, and then I'll come to how it is being integrated with the Microsoft 365. So I actually want to show you the the entire suite of things that are going to happen. Does that answer?
Okay, thank you.
No worries. All right. So essentially, this is my Power Virtual Agent environment that I've logged in. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right. All right. So let's go through the Power Virtual Agent. Home. I mean the landing page, which basically have typically this from your Office 365. So this is where we are actually going to build the Power Virtual Agent application. And if you see here, I just want to quickly go through a couple of areas that you can actually look at. So first and foremost thing that I want to show over here is your bots panel. That's called bots panel, where you can actually go and start creating new bots. Okay. The other one is the settings part over here, where you can actually see a couple of settings. I'll come to those things specifically. I'm just want to take you through this particular interface. And then you have the home, and what you see is the current selected board. So you have different boards in your environment. And here I've selected session test, which is my current board. And you can see this particular section on the home page actually shows, this particular board that we are actually looking at the moment. All right. Next, a couple of, on the left panel, you can see a couple of options. One is topics. Other one is entities, analytics, and all those things. We'll come to the topics and specifically, but at a high level, what exactly is, the topics are. So basically, you are building a chatbot, and our chatbot will, how a chatbot is going to behave is actually driven through something called the topics. Okay. Next, it is called entities. Entities, if you're coming from if you are work.dataverse, please don't confuse with the dataverse entities, which is obviously the tables now, but this is entities are very specific to chatbots. And you also come to details about what exactly those ones are. And then you have the analytics part to see, to give the analytics details about how a bot is behaving in terms of performance, usage, etc. And then we have the section for publish a bot. And then we have the, the manage section for doing a couple of, admin related stuff, others, solutioning and things like that. And then the key thing is the test bot section here, where you can actually see how your chat bot is working while you're doing your build and, testing. All right, so we are actually on a bot that I'm already building. And the next key thing that I just mentioned is the topics. So what exactly are topics, right? So whenever a customer interact with your bot, how the conversation needs to continue between the bot and the customer is what is being defined as part of your topics. All right, and every topics, there is something that's called a trigger, which actually initiate your discussion with the customer. And that's what you see here as the event. So I've created a topic, and you can see this these are the configuration for the the topics. So there's a name that is given for the topic, and then you have the trigger phases. So what exactly are trigger phases? So these are the keywords that actually initiate the discussion between the customer and the chatbot. All right, and you can keep adding trigger phases, and I'll show you once we come into the actual section, like how we can get the triggers added, how it actually needs to get modified as you go in the long run of your chatbot's application. And then once you have defined your trigger phases, then you go to the authoring canvas, and this authoring canvas define how your discussion needs to go further in the chat. So I mentioned about the topics, and within a topic in this authoring canvas, you can see these notes that are here. These are called conversation notes. So what exactly conversation notes this is, how you want to respond to the questions now, how you want to respond to the customer. So that's predominantly what's been defined in this into the conversation notes. So just going back to what we just mentioned in terms of the topics, right? So when a bot is actually, when you create a new bot for the first time, there'll be two kind of, the topics that are created for you. All right. So first type of, these ones, if you see here, there are something related to lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, lesson 4. And you can see the icon over here. They are called user topics. And these ones are built for us to understand and, see how they are actually going to be built. So these are something that are created once your bot is created. And what you see below, these ones are called system topics, right? So system topics, if you see this greeting one, and if you go inside the greeting, you can see the trigger phases, correct? If somebody type good afternoon, it actually says what needs to be done. So these are the trigger phases. And then immediately you get this response from the question from this conversation note saying, hey, I'm a virtual agent, and that's how the conversation proceeds, right? So these are something that are built as an example for you to understand how the bots can work. You can still go and customize it and make it suit your needs. And these ones are, the typical ones that are required in terms of greeting a customer and then, ending a conversation, say thank you, all those things. All right, so that's pretty much on at what a topics are within a bot. Now moving on. So this is something that I've set up as part of our demo activity today. What I've done is first thing I've created a new topic which is event registration. I've given some trigger phrases over here, and before I go in through what is happening here, let's see what the specific use case is for. So I'm actually trying to build a use case around our current session that's going around. So what I'm going to do over here is I as a customer come in and say, hey, hi. And then the bot start responding to me. Hope you can see over here, the bot start responding to me like this, I'm a virtual agent, I can help you with account, all those stuffs. So what can I help you with today? So I'm just mentioning, I want to register for an event. All right. And there you go. What I'm getting is, which track do you want to attend? Do you want to attend a track one developer, or you want to attend a track two IT pro? So when these questions are coming, we can see over here, right? That particular conversation node is getting selected. So what I'm doing at the moment is I'm creating a bot application that is actually going to suggest me a session that I have to attend today in this particular event. Okay. So I'm selecting track one developer. Immediately when I select the track one developer, you can see over here that particular question, the conversation node is selected, which asks me, could you please let me know which area that you're interested in? So I say Power Platform. And then it takes me to this section where it says, hey, I've got two sessions for you. One is this one is other one, right? So I say, okay, since I'm doing, I just want to attend my session. And there you go. I got a question asking me, okay, fine, please enter, an email ID to confirm your registration, right? So I enter my email address and then enter, and you can see I got a message saying, thank you for confirmation. Here are your session details, blah, blah, blah. And you can see in my Outlook, I got an email saying just now saying that, thank you for registration to this one. Here are your session details, done. And then there's a final thing. Did that answer your question? I say yes. And that's pretty much done and they're asking for an experience. I say yes, right? And can I help with anything else? No, thanks. Done. So what we have done here, so basically I built a chatbot application that actually asks me questions, and based on my responses, it finally suggests me a topic that I'm going to, attend for. So let's go through what we have done just now. Okay. So as I mentioned, I've got a bot application build, I've got a topic, and there is a trigger phrase this for this topic, right? And if you see here, these are my trigger phrases that I've listed down. I mentioned suggest, register, attend, event registration. And if you see the statement that I've given, I told I want to register for an event. And that's where the power of, the artificial intelligence or the natural or the Microsoft cognitive service is coming into picture, because though I mentioned few of the sentence here, like register or event, right? Hold on, sorry, it went to the greetings. Yeah. Go to contouring can, yeah. So though I mentioned this as a sentence, I want to register for an event, the artificial intelligence of this cognitive service that's running in the background actually pulled these terms and identified, okay, there is something that is related to register or an event, right? And accordingly, it passed it and asked me the next question. And here, I've got an option now to add and to continue with the conversation, I've added a question like, which track you want to attend. So that's a question conversation that I'm giving you. And when I give a question, I get an option, what kind of, response that I have to get from. Okay. These are the options that I have, or pretty much the entities that I'm having, right? So I told, yeah, I need a multi-choice question. Then I give this one. So immediately when you create a question, you get a variable being assigned to that. Okay. So whatever response the customer or the person using it takes up, that is being assigned to a variable which is under the variables here. Okay. You can see there is a variable that got created. And immediately so since there are two options, you can see there's a condition loop being created for you. We didn't do anything as such. It itself created the condition. So what I meant to say is it actually provides a graphical user interface. It's where you pretty much do everything by just drag and drop or adding stuffs. All right. And then it picks the next set of the response from here. It's basically an if condition or a conditional statement over here. And if it is a track one developer that I'm going to select, then it asks for the next question. And when I selected the next question, again, you can see over here, there is a variable that got created to capture the response for the particular user. And immediately once I have these three options here, you can see there are three conditions again created. And based on the selection, the response flow. I haven't completed these ones just for your reference, but I'm just showing you the happy path. And once we are in this part, the person select Power Platform, and this is where it will show other two selections about the available sessions. And I choose this one, and if you see here, I've named this to topic. And by default, when you create a particular variable, a normal variable, you see it comes like a var. All right. You can change it to any meaningful one. So I just kept it purposefully to show you what is going to happen, right? So this is what is being fed to here. And there is a condition check being done. So this is basically the session that I'm picking. So I can potentially change it to session, right? And then you can see it got changed on the fly, right? Both the variables that was referred here. So again, then there's a comparison done with that particular options that were given here. And then comes the interesting part. Okay. Now I've entered, so it's asked for an email confirmation. And this is what we call as an entity, because with this particular entity, it actually says, okay, you are going to enter a value, which is kind of email. So rather than doing all your activities, this particular entity identifies what, the value to be identified for that particular question. So these are some of the predefined entities. I'll show you quickly when we go do one more thing. What if I give a wrong email? It says you can't find that one because I specifically told I need an entity of email type that is going to be expected here. All right. And the response from that one is actually again being populated into this variable. So let me change it to email. Right. And then we have got pretty much things done until here. And this part is where the power of virtual agents come in terms of integration with the external systems. So what's happening here is in this option, when you're adding different things like questions, condition, and things, there's something called call and action. And what it exactly does is you can call up Power Automate, which basically does the email notification functionality that I've done. So what I'm doing here is I've created a flow already here. Let's go and see what is happening in the flow. All right, so this is the flow that I've created. And let's go and see what is there in the flow. So pretty much what it is doing is getting these values, okay, and sending these values to this flow, okay, and then getting the user profile and sending that information to user profile. Pretty much that's simple that this particular flow is doing. But the interesting thing over here that we have to notice here is if I create a flow, all right, I can go ahead and I can show by creating a flow what is going to happen, right? So I can call an action and create a flow. It again opens me a flow here. I can add a input flow and then save it, let's say. And then I come back here. Let's add a flow, call an action. Just waiting. Yep. So this is the one that I haven't changed the name, but I'm just integrating this one. And you can see over here, the variable that I got from there, it's already populated, okay? And it's asking me where I should get the values from. So there's a tight integration or connection that have happened between your Power Virtual Agent and uh, the Power Automate that we just created, so that you don't want to do any much of orchestration over here. You can just pass in variables. You can just call the flow, pass the variable, get the variables that you want. So all those things are pretty much happening here. So I just want to highlight that power of integration that we just saw, with Power Automate. So let me close this one. Yeah. So this is the one I just created. So let me delete this one. Okay. And then we get the details. Then I show the final confirmation here that, hey, thank you for confirmation. Here are your session details. Please check your mailbox for confirmation email. And that's it. We are ending the conversation. Okay. So let me close this. Yeah. So what I meant to say over here is like, a typically medium level or complex scenario of a chatbot application for this particular requirement, I would have taken maybe 30 minutes to build, right? And that's the power, Power Virtual Agent is actually giving two hands of a citizen developer or an SME to just go ahead and build things over here. Now let me refresh it and just show you the what happens when I give an entity which is oops. I I say session, right? Obviously, session is something that I expect a customer to come and put in for this particular use case. Unfortunately, it says like, sorry, I'm not able to find the related topic. And that's how you start tuning your chatbot. Okay. So you get the analytics, you can see the analytics, what kind of things were failed, what kind of scenarios failed, and accordingly you start tuning your chatbot. So let's go back. And in the event registration, let's add one more phrase. Let's say, so, and let me say the topic. Go back. All right. So let's see what's going to happen now. So I say session. There you go. So this is how you actually need to understand. I know it's an evolving process actually. Once you build your chatbot, you see how it responds to the user interaction, how it, and then you take those as your inputs. You start to make your chatbot more responsive to the customer agreement. So we have come to the point now where it's asking for an email confirmation, right? I give some gem characters, and then you say it can't understand it because the entity that I mentioned to accept this response is an email entity, right? If you think about a typical scenario where you want to do this, inside a code, what you would be basically, you will be getting the data, doing your regex, doing some split, all those things, manipulation of the data to understand if there is an at, is there a .com.au, things like that. But here, since you've actually mapped it to an entity which says, hey, I need an email to be here, and that's where you say, you have to enter an email, right? So so I'm giving again, it's the same scenario, but just to continue and complete this transaction, I just give the confirmation and again, I just got an email over here which says, hey, you have got a registration confirmed. All right, so just getting into the Power Workflow that I just mentioned, what it actually does is it's getting two emails over here, and I'm just passing the email that I came through as the UPN, and I get an email body that's been generated based on the display name which I'm pulling from the Office 365 profile, and then using the input that I got from here of that particular event, and I'm just sending the email to this particular address. Okay, so that's pretty much in terms of how you actually want to build a chatbot application from Power Virtual Agent. And I've already built something. That's why I just want to showcase that one, because obviously when I built something from scratch, the time would have been going over. So and it's pretty much you can play around with these things here. Now, once we are done with the development of the virtual agent, one of the chatbot, the next key thing is how you are going to publish it, right? So once you're done with your development, you actually have the option over here to come and publish your chatbot, and that is the main thing that you have to do after you're done with the development. So you click on publish, and then you publish the latest content, and then, right? So now, once you've published it, you can see here there's something called demo website, right? You can actually click on the demo website, and you can see how your bot is actually going to work in this particular demo website. So it's pretty much the same that we are going to do over here. I say registration. Let's say registration for the event, right? Yep. There you go. I haven't put this particular phrase as such in my topics, right? But it's recognizing these words, registration event. And then I'm being presented with the two tracks that I'm selected. I give per platform, I opt for my session. And then it asks for me to give the email, which is pretty much what you've done until now. And there you go. Oops. Got my next email coming through. So this is pretty much a handy tool because you can actually try out how your your bot is behaving after integrated with a website. All right, so let's go to some key things that I want to show over here. This is one of the main things you have to leverage once you start building your chatbots. Basically, it actually shows you the way the bot is being used, how much. This is the one that we have created, the topics that I've created, how much percentage of the rate of hits are happening, things like that. It's pretty much detailed analytics. I'm not going to go into detail on everything, but this is pretty much handy tool to understand. And one of the key section over here is the building section. Your board is being built based on the session, and there is a detail around what exactly sessions are. But and this shows the building around how this particular one particular board is being built. So analytics is one key thing that you can leverage to understand. And then we have these sections, which basically something that I want to quickly show over here is the security part. Yep. Before that, let me come to the home screen and show you, this how you're going to share this one, right? So once you're done, you can actually start sharing this with people. Let me say, I'm just picking a test account that I'm having. And obviously, once I select a particular user, you can see these are the permissions that have been associated with this particular board that you're going to share. So you can actually share with someone who can actually view, edit, and configure, but they cannot delete it. Okay. So these are the board permissions that you can give. And another key thing over here. Yeah. So that's your how you can actually share your board with people. And then when I go to security authentication, so at the moment, I've set it up as no authentication, which basically means there is no authentication. Anybody who get the link to this particular board can start using it. So, but what I meant to say is you can control all the authentication from here. You can say this can be only used for Teams. You can select and select a, any of these as your provider for, authenticating your bot. So this essentially means they have to sign in to access the bot. So, okay. This is one key thing that you can actually look at, in terms of security. And
Ajo, you have 10 minutes for this session.
Yep.
Just reminding.
Yep. Sure. I'm pretty much done. Thanks for reminding. I'm pretty much done. And one another key thing also, just I want to show here, because now obviously, like whenever we build a solution, whenever you do a build, obviously there is a required obviously to take it to the next environment, right? You will be having your development, then you need to take it to your UAT, prod, things like that. So how we can manage that? And pretty much if you have used the Power Apps or Power Automate, we have the concept of solution. And what I just want to highlight over here is where you can actually go and find that one, right? So pretty much if you go to the settings over here you got something called go to Power Apps solution, and that actually bring up the solution, the environment where we have the solutions being done. So from here you can start solutioning your bot application. I've already solutioned it, that's why it's coming here. What I just want to highlight is, if you want to do a solutioning of this chatbot that you've developed, this is from where you actually go and need to do the solutioning of the bot that you have built. All right, so since I've got like 10 more minutes, I'll probably just switch over to my presentation. And yeah, I'm pretty much done with my session on chatbot today. Before I move on, if you've got any questions, probably I can take it now.
Ajay, I have one question actually.
Yep.
Yeah. In the chatbot, actually, like one of the date column we are trying to like customize actually, like the variables actually I'm not able to do. Do you have any hint over there actually to how to change the format of a date column or something when you try to add the variables inside the chatbot?
You mean variables or?
I have a value.
About variables?
Right. I have a value of date column actually. So basically, it is getting populated inside the mail, which is means like we are phrasing inside the send mail option, right? So I'm trying to customize the date format instead of DD I'm trying to do it as month DD and YY like that. Actually, I'm trying to apply the format. It was not applying properly. Yeah.
What you can ideally do is, so you are obviously expecting an input from the customer, correct? Is that how?
No, actually, my data is coming up from the one of the Excel source, which I'm trying to trying to format it actually, Ajay.
Okay, so I think there are two parts to this. So you are actually bringing a data from Excel onto Power, the chatbot. Is that right?
Right.
All right. So, and for getting the data from Excel, you might be using an Excel Power Automate, correct? To do the query and bring it, correct?
You're right.
Right. So obviously you can do the transformation within the Power Automate, right? So over here, right, I can pretty much show you that, right? So, oops, where is that? Yeah. So what I understand is you'll be doing, you'll be having an action to query that Excel, get the data, and you can do all those transformation within a Power Automate, and the final response from here, correct? Should have that information. Yeah.
Right. I'm trying to send a mail with a formatted date actually. Ideally, it is not popping up in the mail content actually. So I'm able to only bind the direct date value alone. I'm not able to bind with a formatted date actually.
Okay, so you're pretty much asking what's a way to do a date formatting within Power Automate, right? If I understand correctly. Okay.
You're right, Raju.
Okay, so obviously, I think there should be functions like, obviously to transform it to, date format. I can check for the exact format or, which you can be used from the variables within the Power Automate. But yeah, obviously that needs to be done within the Power Automate. I can get you help on, I can get back to you on the actual format. So you're expecting for a DD, YY format?
Right. Ideally, it is coming as an Excel MMDDYY, so the data is not able to format that one actually.
Understood.
Yeah, no
Understood. Yeah. Obviously, that's something that you have to do within the Power Automate. Yeah.
Fine.
But yeah. Hope that answers, gives some insight, but I'll get you that.
No problem. Yeah. Thank you.
No worries.
Hey, hi. I've got one question regarding the Power, this chatbot. So, can you give us few examples where in enterprises we can, leverage this chatbot?
Obviously, you can actually go for an employee onboarding experience, right? So, I can give a typical scenario, right? See, let's say your HR have some leave policies, for instance. Okay. So as a new joinee, I need to understand what are the leave policies that are there in the system, correct? So you can actually leverage that. You can build, you can create the topics pertaining to that particular scenario. You can have few topics created in terms of leave policy, things like that. And then let's say you have your SharePoint Online website, for instance, where you have maintained those records. Okay. In fact, and then based on the question, you can get the information from that SharePoint Online through the Power Automate, display to the person who is interacting. So, onboarding experience, that is one use case that I can say from an enterprise perspective. Policies and procedures, right? So pretty much on this kind of initial things, you can use Power Virtual Agent. And then, like I mentioned, you can publish to a channel. So channel can obviously be your Microsoft Teams, correct? So that will be a single stop shop. All the associate can start using.
Okay.
Does that clarify?
Yes, like that is one of the good example. But anything like say for finance, accounting team, we can use this chatbot where they can.
Definitely, so Microsoft Teams obviously is a collaboration platform, right? It's a pretty much a good collaboration platform, but you can build the chatbots from here, and then you can actually integrate it. Probably just a second. So, you can see the channels here, correct? So Microsoft Teams is one of the channel. Okay. Now let me go to the board that I've created. So when I say turn on Teams, okay. So I'm not sure, it might take some time, but obviously this is one way of doing it. So you build your chatbot, let's say for finance, okay? And let's say there's a Teams for your finance team, okay? You can actually create the chatbot that I've created here, right? And it's already there, and yeah, you can actually publish it to the Teams. Use the web instead. Yeah. So this way that you can actually get your bot developed, put it onto the Teams, add it into the Teams, and they can start using it here. Okay, quickly. I'm just showing. So this is a single source now for you can actually go and start pretty much using it, right?
Okay, and any company-wide news, all those things maybe we can publish here, right?
I mean, bots are basically to assist, right? So yeah, so I would say company-wide news and things are obviously part of your intranet or things like that. But this is very specific in terms of how you want your teams to interact and get some information, right? Or you can pretty much make a workflow out of this, leveraging Power Automate, right? You want to create something, assign it to someone, right? You can actually use this as also for that.
Okay.
Streamlining some process, some business process, things like that.
Can be used in in our mobile app as a Power Apps Canvas app individually?
You can integrate. So if you go to Power Apps environment, I think I should be able to show that. I haven't tried that, but you have this chatbot option here from your Power Apps environment where you can actually embed it.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.